Hello, 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 and welcome to day 2 of the Ideas That Ignite 5-day mini summit. How y'all doing today? Y'all feeling good? Y'all feeling good? I am so amped to have another day to kick it with y'all and bring to you some of the best speakers, some of the most inspiring minds, some of the most people. I'm so excited. I'm just talking. Yo, who we got in the house today? Who we got in the house? Devin. Yes, I see you ready to rock and roll, brother. Who else we got in the house? Who else we got in the house? Who we got over on YouTube? Let's see here. Oh, looks like right now everybody's over on Facebook. It's all good. What is up, my Facebook people? Yo, I am so amped because today we are going to be speaking to a woman who is like the kryptonite of social media. Like if there's anything that I know like very little about and have really had to like lean into and learn in this process of like becoming a public speaker, it has been about learning to use virtual stages. And like in today's time, this has been so critical, because if you think about it, like how many of us can actually get onto a real stage? None of us. None of us have been able to get onto like a real actual live stage. But through the power of digital stages have totally been able to transform a lot of different things. I mean, for me personally, being able to utilize digital stages has meant being able to actually reach more people. And when this whole COVID thing first happened, it was really kind of like a bummer on my spirit, on my soul, on my head. I just like I didn't know what to think or to do because I'm so used to being on a stage in front of people, actually, sharing my message. But when I started to backtrack and think about like what was actually successful in my journey, it was not only like utilizing social media to find gigs, to find paid gigs, but also to amplify those gigs. And my secret weapon through all of this has been the one, the only Daphne Leblanc. So I'm super excited for Daphne to be joining us today, as she's going to be breaking down all the things that she did in order to like amplify her platform, what she's using on social, how she's using social in a non-overwhelming way. In a non-overwhelming way. So I'm super excited about bringing Daphne onto the Ideas That Ignite mini summit. Now, just to give you all heads up, I'm going to be bringing Daphne up in just a bit. Today's session is probably going to go a little bit longer. I know that I mentioned that we'd be going for about an hour from like 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock Pacific time, about 4 o'clock, 4 to 5 p.m. typically Eastern time. But we have a little bit of a time issue today. So we're going to be bringing up Daphne in about 15 minutes, okay? About 15 minutes. So if you're watching this and you're like wondering like, well, where's Daphne? She'll be coming to the stage soon. But before she gets here, I wanted to take some time to actually go through what is the plan of action for tomorrow, the next week, and the week after that. All right? Is that cool with y'all? Is that cool with y'all? All right, so a little bit of background going into what's coming up for the summit, what's coming up for the mastermind, and what's coming up for the long-term plan for the Ideas That Ignite community, okay? So, first things first, tomorrow, we are going to be breaking down your idea audits. Give me an emoji or give me a fire or something up in the comment screen if you are ready to start to start sharing your idea. Right? Give me an emoji. Give me some type of thumbs up. Be like, yeah, let's do this. So the idea behind this is in order to get really clear on what it is that you're going to be speaking about, how you're going to be speaking about it, and what it is that you're going to be pitching in terms of being a speaker or a workshop presenter or a solo artist or whatever that might be, we need to get really, really concise and really clear on what your idea is. So what I'm going to be doing tomorrow is I want you listeners to join me on stage as we bring out your idea. That's right. I see your fire, Devin. That's what's up. Hell yeah. Who's this? Who's this with the hand up? Is that Poonam? Is that Stephanie? I'm not so sure. Quick heads up, because I'm using a studio, a backstage studio, I can't see your name unless you give StreamYard permission. So if you look at the description for this particular video, somewhere in the description where it says, like, today we're bringing Daphne Leblanc, blah, 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 it says, I will be using StreamYard. Please grant StreamYard permission to see your name. Otherwise, you just kind of like look like this, okay? And I love you, so I want to be able to acknowledge your name, Facebook user, okay? So go to that little link. It'll only take 2 seconds. Click on grant StreamYard permission, and I'll be able to see who you are. All right. So more fire, more fire. All right. So, anyways, so what we want to do is tomorrow, I want to bring you on the stage behind the scenes with me, because what I want to do is I want to do what I do best, which is coach. I want to be able to hear your ideas. We want to be able to flush them out. So the plan for action tomorrow is we're actually going to be going through a little bit of like what this looks like. If you are with us in the last couple of sessions, you'll definitely want to go check out what this looked like in our last session. So last week on Thursday, we brought 3 or 4 different examples of 1-minute stories and how those looked, the actual accepted submissions to TED over the past like 5 years or so. So we kind of broke down like, what does a 1-minute audition video even like look like? And we talked about a couple of core elements, but some of those core elements are, it needs to include some type of scene or some type of moment from your story. It needs to get into the idea, like not what the story is about, but what is the idea that you want to pass on to your audience, and why now? Okay, why now? The why now doesn't have to be very explicit, but it should relate to something that people are interested in now or something that people are kind of connected to now. So those were kind of like the bare bones, but we went into a lot more detail last week on Thursday. So if you want to go back to the Ideas That Ignite Media tab, I'm going to show you where that is in just a second, to check out last week's session so that tomorrow you'll be ready to share with me whatever idea that you have. Okay. Now, once again, the plan is like not to go too crazy with this, to just kind of like come up with something that you think might work, to choose one of them. If you have 2, that's fine, but keep in mind that everybody's going to have about a maximum of about 5 minutes. Okay, maximum of about 5 minutes. Now, the reason why I want to get this like done well for you all is because on Friday is when the TED speaker curator, Chloe Shasha, is going to be joining us. And if there's anything that I've learned about getting on stages and getting into the right kind of space is for, to amplify my platform, it was all a matter of like actually being in the right place at the right time and building up my name recognition and building up those opportunities for people to know who I was. So, for example, quick little backstory. The year that I applied to TED, I had done my story on a stage, at a show, I should say, called the Story Collider. And the Story Collider is a New York City-based organization that tells stories about science. That same year, one of the founders of Story Collider was working with TED. I didn't know in what capacity. I didn't know if he was like on the blogging committee. I didn't know if he was on the partnership committee. I had no clue. But I did know that somebody from Story Collider was working at TED. So in order to see if there was a way to like amplify my my voice and kind of like show that, you know, I've been connected to people who are already on your staff, people who are already kind of doing the damn thing, I specifically chose a video of the story that I shared from Story Collider. Now, to be honest with you, I have no idea, not a single clue if this actually worked, right? Now, maybe the fact that Story Collider was part of my application and people had heard about Story Collider because somebody on their staff was now part of it, it doesn't really matter. Point being is that when you do this particular audition tomorrow, and as you build it over the course of the couple of months that we have going on, it's only going to help if you are able to tie it back to something that Chloe or the rest of the team has seen or has heard of or is connected to. Is that starting to make sense for y'all? So I want to be able to present you all with as many opportunities to get your name recognized before even submitting an application. You see, do you see where I'm going with this? You know, you see where I'm going with this? So this is what I want you to do. Definitely, if you want to join tomorrow, just, you know, send me slide into my DMs. It's not a problem. Or go ahead and send me an email. And basically, I am going to send you a link that looks like Greek. This is the link, and I know you can't currently click on this, but this is what the link is going to look like. Okay, the link is going to take you backstage to this particular location where I'm at now, and you'll come on the screen with me. You'll share your pitch. You'll have like about a minute to do so. We'll talk about it. We'll refine it. We'll get your name out there. And then hopefully when we talk to Sasha on Friday, we'll talk about some of these pitches. We'll talk about like what's working, what people need to like address, what people need to look at. So that is why I'm super amped about bringing you on stage tomorrow. Sound like a plan? All right, great. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a hell yeah if you're feeling that. So while we're doing that, I am going to pull up where on Facebook you can find the media for the Ideas That Ignite Summit, and specifically where you can find the recordings from last week. So just give me a quick second here. I'm going to share with you all my screen. Share screen. Tab. Facebook. Okay, great. So currently this is what my backend looks like for the Ideas That Ignite page. What you're gonna wanna do is go over here to where it says media, okay? Click on the media tab. Scroll down to where it says, oops, sorry. Scroll over to videos. If you're interested in the recap from yesterday, the interview with Shannon Kaysen, that is right here. And then this button right here where it says video prep, submitting your idea to TED, that is where you're gonna wanna go check out and see and make sure that you can check out all the different insights from last week's session, okay? Now, as I said, this is not a requirement, but this will definitely help you because I've played about 3, if not 4 different videos from last week that show you what a 1 minute of submission looks like, okay? So let's see here. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, I see you. I see you. Oh yeah, Mr. Devin, I got you. Hell yeah, brother. All right. So if you need a refresher, go to the media tab, go to videos, and that's where you'll be able to find it. So the other reason why I wanted to, whoops, let me stop sharing my screen for just a second. Okay, great. So The second reason why I wanted to share with you a little bit about like where to find the media is because I've heard from some people that they want to go back. They want to go back over the past 10 weeks, 10 weeks, y'all, of stuff that we've been sharing, like the storytelling tip Thursdays. So in order to do that, it's also kind of the same thing. You have to kind of go through that process of going onto the Ideas That Ignite page and going into the videos tab and then kind of scrolling. But, ladies and gentlemen, I have a nice little surprise gift for you. I am going to put together the best of those videos, and it's going to be a completely new website, a brand new link, and it's going to be just for anybody who has attended this particular Ideas of Ignite 5-day summit, or anybody else who's interested in possibly joining this community. So I know right now it's a little bit wonky to go into Facebook, go to the media tab, find the videos, and then find the one that you want. So instead, I'm going to be putting all of this together for you in a nice little one-pager or a one-sheeter that has all the different videos. I already have them transcribed. So that is my gift to you. Okay? So that'll be coming up probably sometime probably like next week or so after we have all the recordings from this particular session done. That will be popping off. Two more things before we move into our content for today. For those of you who have not yet had a chance to check out what is on the full agenda, because this is a 2, I just wanted to take a moment to share with you our behind the scenes. So let me go back to share my screen. There we go. Go back to sharing the screen. Okay. So for any of you who are like absolutely brand new to like what's going on, this is the Ideas That Ignite 5-day mini summit. So I have just been working around the clock to make sure that this is going to be the week that you can define for yourself, what do I want to do with my stories? It doesn't have to be TED or TEDx. It could be like your big talk at some other major conference. Maybe you want to become more of a podcaster. Maybe because you want to become more of a trainer. That's all good. Like everybody who I'm bringing up today has something to do with some type of sharing of their story in some type of capacity. So if you haven't already done so, this is the full itinerary, the full lineup for this week, ideasthatIgnite.co. You'll see a little bit about the summit on this particular tab. These are our daily topics. Yesterday, we had Shannon Kaysen, who went from being a gambler to greatness. And he just really kind of broke down for us what it means to be able to be brutally honest. He shared about the fact that a lot of times as storytellers, we tend to kind of like think about ourselves as edified. I went through some turmoil, and then one day I realized that I shouldn't do this anymore, right? And he kind of called that out. He called it out in a very truthful way, saying that these aren't the stories that he wanted to share. It wasn't the stories that were felt authentic to him. And when he did start sharing that, what it actually meant in terms of his business, because now he's out there podcasting, he's working on like major deals with other companies, other businesses. But he also talked about the power of having his own podcast, the power of having his own podcast or his own platform to share his story. And he mentioned that this is not something that he makes a lot of money off of, his own podcast, but it helps to amplify his platform in a way that no other vehicle has. It's helped him to fine tune his stories before taking them to TED or before taking them to a major stage. So Shannon's talk yesterday, definitely got me inspired. I want to do more podcasting because of Shannon's talk. So that was yesterday. Go ahead, check that out if you're interested. Today, we're talking about using social to scale. Daphne Leblanc will be with us in just a few minutes. But Daphne, as I mentioned, is a pro at actually understanding all the ins and outs of social media, which I am not good at. So I'm super excited that she's here. Tomorrow, as I mentioned, I want to bring you on stage to do your 1 minute idea audits. Thursday is going to be great because I'm super excited about speaking with this sister who I actually met at a podcasting conference, Felicia Jones. She has done 2 TEDx talks, but she also has like this amazing company that is called I Find You Close. So she's going to talk all about like how she actually finds the gigs based off of who you are, and then it's your responsibility to go close them. So I'm really interested in her business model and inviting her to this community. And then of course on Friday, our closing keynote with Chloe Shasha, as I currently mentioned, the speaker curator from TED. She'll be here leaning into this process, talking about all these different iterations of TED, and what you need to do to get prepared, what they look for in speakers, the speaking process, all that kind of good stuff. Okay, so if you're interested, these are their more information about our speakers: Felicia, Daphne, myself, all that kind of good stuff. And then, of course, I would love if you all have some extra funds to throw in a buck for this process, or $5 or $10 or $200 or $500 or $1,000. Yeah, $1,000. What? Yeah. Anyways, so, but you know, and if things are tight for you, don't worry. I got you. All right. So, but yeah, this is our checkout page. This page is going to be converted into our mastermind page by the end of the week. So let's see here. Let's go back to, there we go. So by the end of this week, we're going to be transitioning into our actual live coaching group. So for anybody who is interested in that, I'll be breaking off a whole bunch more information next week on October 12th. Like mark your calendars now. October 12th. I'm going to be doing basically an Ideas That Ignite webinar. So we're going to be looking at like, what did we learn over the past 10 weeks during our Storytelling Tip Thursdays? We're going to be breaking down like, okay, like what exactly do we need to know and lean into? What do we need to practice as a community as we go into 2021? So we're going to be looking at like, what are the top tips, tricks, strategies, and then I'm going to be opening the cart for enrollment. So enrollment for the stories, enrollment for the Ideas That Ignite Mastermind is going to be from the 12th to the 18th. And then our 9-week program is going to kick off on October 19th. The 9 weeks, October 19th to December 18th. We're taking off a week for Thanksgiving. And that is going to be the time for us to lean into it. And I'm really excited about this, about working with y'all, because it's going to be a very small community. We're going to have like basically accountability groups where you are really going to be leaning into sharing your idea, crafting your idea, finding that core story. Like, every single thing that I work on consists of a core story as well as supporting stories. Okay. So we're going to be working on what is that core story that needs to be part of your idea. What are those supporting stories? What is the main idea? What is the call to action? Okay. But then once we actually have an outline of the talk, we need to shift into actually finding the gigs that are right for you. So I started compiling a list of all of the speaking engagements for TED and TEDx, starting in as early as like mid-June. So give me 1 second here to just, I'm so excited, y'all. I'm excited. So from mid-June 2021 onwards, it's kind of like my goal time frame. Now, this is a goal time frame in my mind because I think that around that time, that more stages are going to start to open up, that more opportunities for speakers to be either virtual and or on live stages is going to open up. So for example, TEDx Harlem is popping off, I want to say sometime around like March or April of next year. And then from there, there's a bunch that I think that people in this community will be very interested in looking at. So I'm going to do all in my power to connect you to organizers, connect you to people who are like on the front lines, actually like doing stuff in the speaking industry. So that way, when you have your entire idea ready to go, you have your application ready to go, we know which ones we're going to hit up. It's going to be like magic. It's going to be like magic. So that is pretty much a rough skeleton of what the 9 weeks is going to look like from October 19th to December 18th. And then we celebrate. We celebrate the new year. We celebrate, like, you know, all the accomplishments, all the love, everything that's happened over the past couple of months. Okay, so that is what's happening in a nutshell. So check out your media tab for like a recap of the past 10 weeks. If there's anything in particular you're looking for, specifically looking at last week for the ideas, the idea generator and the 1 minute audits. Keep an eye out for your free storytelling workshop that's going to be like popping off as soon as I compile all these videos and get them transcribed for you. Keep an eye out for next week on Monday. Monday, our cart is going to be open, and I'm going to be sharing the Ideas that Ignite webinar. And from there, you know, you get a little bit more information about like how the course is going to be structured, what it looks like, why now is going to be the best time. I'll give you like a little bit of heads up about why now, because we can do this now. I'm not so sure if that's going to be the case later, but we can actually do this now as a community. Let's see here, right? Sorry about that. I was getting a weird notification. So yeah, so what that's going to look like now, but like as I said, as a heads up, this is all going to be developed with you. This is not a course. It's not an online course. It's not an online program. It's an actual opportunity to work in community as a mastermind. So I want to be doing some clarification about like what exactly this is and why now. And so you'll be kind of getting all the information next week in the webinars as we open the cart, okay? And last but not least, if you haven't already, definitely check out your Art of Storytelling and Leadership workbook, okay? The Art of Storytelling and Leadership workbook is something that I provide for a bunch of different clients when I do work. Let's see, I'm pretty sure that I have a little link here. So you can find it at bit.ly storytelling workbook, bit.ly storytelling workbook. And inside of it has like some of my favorite prompts, brainstorming your prompts, basically like things that you can think about in terms of your values. What do I appreciate? So I value public education. I value clean air. I value community. And so, but the idea is to kind of go back into those moments, because stories start off with moments. And a lot of ideas that you have are going to start off with moments. So it starts off with getting into those moments, kind of getting into like those things that could be stories, that could be ideas, that could be larger presentations. From there, we break down a story. You know, we break down a story a little bit more, structure in the story, details, sensory details, sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and the story map. The story map is definitely something that I think that everybody should know and understand in terms of breaking down like the setup, the inciting incident, the raising of the stakes, the aha moment, and a conclusion/resolution. All right. So if you haven't gotten your workbook already, definitely check that out at bit.ly/storytelling workbook. Okay. Awesome. So awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. I just got a notification that you downloaded the workbook. That was quick. That was so funny. I just, boom, just kind of came into my inbox, just kind of caught the corner of my eye. So Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I'm so excited that today, today we get to touch base with Daphne Leblanc. So let me just make sure that we're all set to go here on the back end. Just bear with me for a quick second. Okay. Okay, great. So while we are bringing up, I see you, Stephanie. Yes. Ah, and now we even have your name. Yes, there we go. All rocking and rolling. All right. So as we get ready for Daphne LeBlanc, I am going to share with you a little bit, a little sneak peek. It's a little bit of a sneak peek of what's coming tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to share with you my one, my only TED application. So I want to I want to share with you what this looks like because it's woo, it was kind of a mess going into it. So give me a quick second here. Pull out my tab, find my application. Share screen. Oh, I see. I'm already sharing my screen. That's the problem. Ah, okay, there we go. Share screen. Okay. So let's see here. I'm going to make this a little bit larger so you can actually see it better. And let's go to the scrolling function so you can actually see what this is all about. Give me 1 second here. That's interesting. Okay, here we go. Okay. Hmm. Computer's acting a little funny today. computer is acting just a tad funny today. But okay, so what I think I'm going to do is I'm actually going to read for you part of my application and then play for you part of my video because I think that you're not going to be able to quite see the font that I'm talking about. Tomorrow I'm actually going to bring out the actual application. So actually, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my application and what I did and what I needed to shift, because I think that as storytellers, there's something that is kind of critical in understanding the difference between your story and your idea. So as I mentioned in my first take, the very first time that I applied to TED, I had this story idea. And the story idea was about myself going and wanting to be an Olympian, going to UCLA, injuring myself, and then realizing that I was not being a great sport in terms of my brother's participation in Special Olympics. Okay, so the very first year that I applied to TED, it was 2012, and I submitted an application that talked about this particular moment. So the story, I had the story in mind for quite some time, but the story was around this particular moment, me wanting to be an Olympian, Dwayne coming to UCLA, and then realizing that I wasn't being a very good sport. Now, here's where the challenge lies. The challenge is that telling a great story does not lead to a great idea. Telling a great story does not necessarily automatically lead to a great idea. So what a story does, if you are a storyteller, if you've been on a stage, the goal of that story is to let the audience come to their own conclusions. We offer our stories as a blessing. We offer our stories as a gift to the world, right? So, yesterday, Shannon and I were kind of like laughing about this idea that a lot of times stories end with, and then I realized, right? And it's kind of a cliche that a lot of stories, especially, stories publicly shared, end in this kind of way, right? The ending for an idea cannot be, and I realized blank. The ending for your idea needs to be, what do you, the audience, what do you, the listener, what can you do as a result of understanding my story? So imagine you are a business person. Imagine that you are a CEO of a company. You're going and you're trying to inspire your team to do some hard work, okay? So you go in and you share the story about your son. And your son was part of a hockey team. And on the hockey team, your son really, really, really wants to play varsity, but he's not very good. So his coach is giving him two options. The coach is giving him two options. The options are either to sit on and really get your skills fine-tuned on the JV team, or to go on the varsity team, knowing that you're probably going to be sitting out like a good chunk of the season, right? But the CEO gives his son these two options, and the coach gives the son these two options. The son decides that he is going to play varsity. That's all he wants. He wants that varsity title. So the father watches as the son goes, and he is on the varsity team. The father goes to all the games, and he ends up sitting and just kind of like watching as his son is also sitting there on the sidelines, right? The father realizes that he maybe should have pushed more for his son to get out there, to be part of the JV team instead of the varsity team, and really go ahead and put his hands and his nails and his claws into the process of practicing. Great story, right? If you're a CEO delivering the story, though, to your employees, what the hell is the purpose? What is the purpose? The purpose is to translate that story into something that they see tangible. So the CEO says to himself, okay, so I share with them this story about my son wanting to be on the varsity team, but sitting on the bench the entire season. And now he calls that into a call to action for his listeners. So he goes back to his employees and he says, I share with you this story Because I think in this line of work, we're not doing the work necessary to get our product up to par before launching. So the idea is that we need more time on the rink. We need more time practicing before we launch this product out to the world, right? So you see the switch, the nuance in between the story and the idea. It's something that we want the people to think about as a result of your story. Okay, so in my particular case, I shared with them that I had this amazing experience with my twin brother that were very unique. That alone was not enough to convince the committee to select me as part of to be a speaker. It wasn't until I translated my story into what I want the audience to do. And what I wanted the audience to do was also very subtle. All I wanted the audience to do was to think about, what do we think about those who have special needs? What is our common perception of those who have special needs? Our perception is that we think of them as needing help or only in terms of their needs. And I wanted people to think about, what do we think about in terms of their gifts? So shifting that idea from special needs to special gifts, right? So that's what I want you to focus on for tomorrow's pitch, is like, how do we go from just the story into the idea? So I really need you all to think about the idea, because that's what's going to sell. That's what's going to work for this particular type of scenario. Okay. But not only is it essential in this particular realm, because this is going beyond the story into the idea, or beyond the story into the takeaway. Okay. So one of the things that I forgot to mention this earlier when we were talking about what's coming up for the course, is not only is the mastermind that's coming up, not only is it for people who are interested in speaking at TED, but I am going to give you the behind the scenes look of actually translating not only this for TED, but for any major stage, major, minor, virtual stage that you want to speak on in 2021. Okay. So what does that mean? It means that maybe you don't feel like you're quite ready to do a TED talk or a TEDx talk, but maybe you want to get that practice of actually getting out in front of stages, getting out in front of people, and actually, practicing your talk. I was sharing with Stephanie. Stephanie, I think that you still might be on the call, but I was sharing with Stephanie earlier this moment when I went from being a $200 speaker to a $5,000 speaker, from a $5,000 speaker to a $10,000 speaker, and from $10,000 speaker to now doing like workshops for $45,000, like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay. So it all kind of started off though with understanding who has the purse strings. Who has the purse strings? So if you're interested in speaking at colleges, if you're interested in speaking at corporations, if you're interested in doing like workshops, how do you actually package that into something that people can buy? So my main goal, if your goal is not necessarily to do a TED or TEDx talk, but if your goal is actually to find a way to use your stories regardless, and to make money off of it, this is going to be a bonus. This is going to be my special bonus for the Ideas That Ignite Mastermind. Yes, Stephanie, I know, amazing, right? It's an amazing lifestyle to be able to share stories in a way that I love, and still be paid, to be perfectly honest with you, right? So if you are thinking like, I really love storytelling. If you're thinking in my core, I just love like connecting with people in this way, I have a very special bonus for you that's going to be part of the Ideas That Ignite Mastermind. And that is going to be like all the different ways to think about utilizing your story as a business. All the ways that you can use your story as a business, people. So one of the things that I'll be talking about the difference between speaking as a business, in other words, people who go out there whose business model is to just get on as many stages as possible, charging, 5,000, 10,000, whatever amount that might be, speaking as a business, and then speaking for your business. Speaking for your business. So some people actually use storytelling and use different stages. They're not getting paid to necessarily speak, but they're working with organizers to say like, hey, I'll speak at your event for free with the understanding that I can pitch my product, my service, my course, my coaching, my consulting to your audience. So to give you an example, about 2 years ago, I spoke at a festival in Brooklyn called I think it's called the Northridge Festival. Mostly consisting of like music people, entertainers, but I knew that in the audience would have like all these different people from walks of life that typically sponsor big brands, different company representatives, et cetera, et cetera. So they're like, look, we have a very limited budget, but we'd love for you to come and speak. I thought, okay, cool. So this is when I shifted into speaking for my business. I was like, great, I'll do a 45-minute presentation, with the understanding that I will be allowed to pitch my program on the back end. And they're like, yeah, absolutely, no problem. So that's what I did. I went to the Northridge Festival. It was somewhere in Williamsburg. It was really great. Got some free drinks, met a lot of cool people. Sure enough, about 2 weeks later, I got an email from 3 ladies. They're like, hey, we were in the audience of your workshop at the Northridge Festival, and we're from Chanel. We want to bring you in to do a teaching engagement. So that teaching engagement was like 10,000 plus some odd dollars. But these are the ways. Yes, exactly. Yes. These are the ways that you can utilize your story in different ways to find clients, to not feel like you're kind of like running in circles, but actually finding the exciting and lucrative ways to share your story, right? Another example, yesterday when I was speaking with Shannon was talking about how his podcast isn't necessarily like the thing that's generating income for him. It's really the way that he's kind of letting people know that he's alive, that he's a storyteller, that he wants to be able to provide more opportunities. And so from sharing his own podcast, he shared the moment when WBEZ, which is public radio affiliate in Chicago, contacted him saying like, hey, we see that you're doing a lot of podcasting. Can we bring you on to do X, Y, and Z? Right. And so he did a podcast with them. I can't remember the name of it. Oh, The Trouble. It was called The Trouble. So it lasted only a short amount of time. But from doing The Trouble, he was then able to like say, like, I've worked with WBZ, I've done this podcast. And now he has a 6-figure deal working with In Good Co., which is In Good Company. It's a Detroit-based company talking about Detroit entrepreneurs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So my goal, ladies and gentlemen, is to show you all the different ways that you can parlay your story into a business that you love. I don't care if you want to be a trainer, if you want to be a speaker, if you want to just tell stories, because there are people who just go out there and tell stories. If you want to be a writer, there are different ways to leverage your stories. So that is going to be my bonus to you in terms of A, what are the different ways that you can do this? And B, what can you charge? Can I get an amen? Can somebody give me like a I don't know, what is that icon, the dollar bill icon? Or shoot, I don't care. Give me a peso icon. Give me a yen icon. Give me a real, a Brazilian real icon. Give me a peso icon. I don't care what the currency is. You see, I'm getting so excited. I need some more water. There are so many awesome ways to make a buck off of your stories and to make a positive living. And for me, yes, Stephanie, amen, amen, yes, 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 dollar bills, dollar, more dollars. Yes, you should see the look on my dog right now. She thinks I'm a little bit crazy, but that is what I'm talking about. If you are a storyteller, if you are a speaker, if you just love being able to speak, to motivate people, to kind of share your experiences, to process your own stuff while doing it, and to get paid, I would love to be your coach to show you how to do this. So many awesome ways of making a living, making an income. Just out of curiosity, for those of you who are alive, and I promise you, Daphne is coming. I promise you, she is coming. We've just been having all kinds of technical problems, but I promise you, she is coming. But anyways, for yes, I know, I'm crazy. I'm a little crazy. I'm a little crazy, right? But that's who I am. I'm a crazy beast sometimes. But anyways, put in the chat for me, what would you like to do with your stories? Is TED or TEDx like the dream? Do you want to become a podcaster? If you do, let me know, because I recently did an exclusive event for Spotify. It was exclusive, but I can share with you some fun insights about that particular event. Their Spotify basically is like really in the process of looking for more people of color to train to become podcasters. So they have a summit. They have a very exclusive summit called the Sound Up Summit. So they brought me in as a trainer for that as well. So put in the chat, if how can I best provide some more insights? Is it through podcasting? Do you want to become a speaker for business? Do you want to be a speaker to promote your business? Do you want to be able to just share stories? Do you want to be a novelist? Put in the chat, what do you want to do with your stories? I just want to do a little heart to heart talk for just a quick second here. Kind of get a sense what's on your heart? What's on your mind? Okay, cool. So here we go. Stephanie said, I'd like to do a TEDx talk and I'd like to upgrade my podcast. Okay, great. So Stephanie, why? Let's get to the heart of this. Why do you want to do a TEDx talk? Why do you want to upgrade your podcast? And, it could be for selfish reasons, maybe because, doing your podcast makes you feel really good. Or maybe sharing your TEDx talk is something that you've had on your chest and on your mind. But what will that do for you? What will that do for you? Let's see. We've got another comment here. I'm a person of color and a podcaster. I'd like to speak to share my story message. Poonam, my sister. Yes. Tell me more, Poonam. Tell me why. While you guys are typing, I see that I do have Daphne. So go ahead and type that in. I'm going to see what is going on. Okay, Devin. Devin says, I want to be an author and motivational speaker so that I can bring a voice to people who think that they're insignificant, because that was, for me, most of my life. That's a why. That I understand, right? I think that that starts to speak into the reasons that are going to keep you going. That's going to speak into the reasons that's going to keep you going. When shit gets hard, because it does get hard, Today, actually, I'm actually really excited to share with you a strategy that Daphne and I adapted to make it seem like I was much bigger of a personality, much bigger of a person before I actually was. Uh, so we're gonna get to that in just a minute, but it also helps you to root in those whys, those whys of when things get rough, right? So let's see. Stephanie has a comment here. I've been approached by a local TED organization, and they asked me to submit for the next year's TEDx. It would broaden my reach for Story Jam classes on our live show podcast. Sorry, there's a delay when we answer you. Yeah, that's okay. I know that there's a little bit of a delay. But yes, Story Jam. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, Story Jam, Chicago. This is Chicago, right, Steph? I think it's Chicago. Story Jam is another amazing resource that people should know about if you want to take a storytelling class. Now, what's happened in my case is a lot of people know that I work with the Moth. I'm one of the lead trainers at the Moth. Hold on one second. Okay, cool. So a lot of people know that I'm a trainer with the Moth, and so they ask like, how do I actually get in on in a class? And truth be told, there's not many opportunities for individuals to join like a Moth class. So typically we're out in the community, we'll work with nonprofits, we work with corporations. So unless like you're part of that nonprofit that we're partnering with or that corporation, it's hard to get into a class with the Moth. It's not impossible because you can't just sign up. But Story Jam is one of the places where any individual anybody can go sign up and take a class. And they have amazing instructors. I'm going to be joining that roster in just a few as soon as I have some of this stuff all lined up. Story Studio NYC is another great one to check out. Also amazing teachers. Some of the people who trained me in my own storytelling journey, Kevin Allison, is behind Story Studio. But yes, there are some pretty amazing organizations that are out there, Story Jam being one of them. So if you want to take a storytelling class, definitely encourage you to check them out. Let's see here. We'll do one more, and then I believe that we have Daphne on the line, I believe. I'm going to double check that. Let's see here. Okay, so Punam says, I believe while my story is not unique to children of immigrants, but their stories are drowned out by louder voices in the room. Yes, that's a very compelling why. When you feel like, like this voice is not represented enough, we haven't heard this enough in media or just in public discourse, or I haven't heard it in my family, that's a compelling why. Do you feel like, do you feel it? Like your heart just warms like when we have a compelling why. And as creatives, I know that this is the driving force. This is the driving force. So excellent. Okay, so we are good to go with Daphne, but there's a slight glitch. So the weird thing is this also happened with me yesterday. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to like shut this down for just a quick second to restart the broadcast. So I'm so sorry, but I'm going to wrap this one up just really quickly. I'll be back in like 2 seconds because I'm pretty sure that's what's happening here. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do, thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate you. And I appreciate you all like hanging out for me for the top of this hour. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reboot. I'm going to reboot so I can get Daphne in to the right screen, to the right section, and then we're going to pick off right where we started. All right, y'all? So I will be right back. I promise. I love you all. Thanks for hanging out with me for this first hour. and I will be right back with you. All right. Peace.